Hey guys, Sean here. I think silver investors in Europe are getting screwed. Now, if you're a silver stacker, you know exactly what you have to pay for your coin or bar. It's just the spot price plus the physical premium, and that's it. But if you're living in Europe, there is a big problem with buying silver bullion, and that is having a big value added tax. VAT tax. I'm talking about an additional 20% on top of the price of physical silver, which is quite insane. And frankly, I find it rather unfair. After all, in Europe, gold doesn't have any VAT tax on it. Silver is also a precious metal and is one of the time tested ways to fight against inflation. But it is what it is, and in this video, I really want to discuss how serious the VAT tax is to silver investors in Europe and how to legally escape the high taxes the smart way. Let's dive in. The big problem with VAT tax on silver is that it suddenly makes it a less attractive investment, right? And the funny thing is that silver is taxed at the same rate as an old lady's handbag or Mickey Mouse watch. So if we take this silver Britannia for example, it's minted in the UK, and if you're buying it in a country, you need to pay around 20% tax on it. But if I were to buy the same Britannia in the United States or Singapore, there is no sales tax on this. I really find it hilarious and sad at the same time, right? The big issue is that if we take VAT tax and we add it to the physical premium, that means, silver stackers in UK will have to pay anywhere from 40% to 50% above spot for Britannia, and it really eats into the profits of your investment before you even sell. And at today's prices of $23 silver, you need it to rise by almost $9 to just break even. That's $32, guys. Silver will need to rise by at least 40% for you to see a gain of $0, right? So if you live in the UK and most countries in Europe, that will be your entry price. That is the true entry price of silver for you, which just makes it very unattractive to the average investor. And the big issue is that you can't escape VAT tax in Europe, right? If we take a look at this table, you can see that almost every country in Europe is not tax friendly towards silver, right? You have to pay an arm and a leg to get some physical. If you're in France, you'll pay 20% tax. The rate in Germany is 19%. And if you're in Sweden, they will host you for 25% right off the bat, right? It's like somehow in Europe, they are trying their best to prevent people from buying silver, right? It is like a hidden conspiracy, right? It just doesn't make sense. And this really makes investing in silver very problematic in Europe. And I have heard of people doing a lot of shady stuff to escape the VAT tax, which I don't endorse, right? It's illegal and you will get into a world of trouble if you don't pay the tax. And the most common method is simply heading to a country with lower VAT and buying silver there and then driving it back. In other words, smuggling. Now Norway and Estonia seems to be the only two countries that don't have VAT tax, right? So some stackers are thinking of driving to Norway and then transporting it back to their home countries, like some badass Jason Statham. Now I get it, right? It seems like quite a deal, especially if you're living in places like Germany, France, or even the UK. Now, I really want to address this and say smuggling is not the way to go. When you transport silver back to your home country, you will have to declare the full amount, and if you don't, it's an offense and not really a good feeling to have, right? It's not a sustainable way to stack silver. Sooner or later, your luck will run out and you'll get caught, and when you do, the best case scenario is that you have to pay a big fine, and the worst case scenario is that your entire silver stash might be confiscated and you might be thrown into jail, right? I don't mean to scare you guys, but hey, right now we live in very dangerous and desperate times. And the big problem actually lies when it comes to sell. Certain dealers might want you to show proof of your purchase, especially if you're selling hundreds of ounces at once. And when it comes to reporting your capital gains tax in Europe, now magically you have to declare the gains you made from silver that you didn't buy in your home country, right? The tax people will be asking, hey, where do you get all that silver from? And you'll probably get a phone call you won't be happy to take. And if you don't declare capital gains, now you have just committed another offense. You get where I'm going with this? You see how sticky the situation can get and how it just snowballs out of control. So it's really not worth it, guys. A previous loophole many investors took was to buy silver from Estonia and ship it via a private courier back to their home country. But even that solution is fast closing. As we can see from an email from European Mint, they are one of the largest dealers in Europe, and they have come out saying that the Estonian method will no longer work. According to a new law, even Estonia will have a big VAT tax on silver by July 2022. So this means if you're living in Europe, you are running out of luck. And there are only two ways to legally avoid VAT tax when buying physical silver. I mean, you can buy the silver ETFs like SLV and PSLV, but what is the point, right? The whole deal with investing in physical silver is to get it in your hands. It's meant to be private wealth. You want some silver in its physical form. So the first solution is to buy silver and store it in Switzerland, right? If you really want your bullion to stay in Europe and have it in a neutral country that's also a financial hub, then you really don't have much choice than Switzerland that charges only 7.7% VAT tax, and there's no capital gains as well. Now the next option, and I think the better option, is to buy and store silver in tax havens such as Singapore, because there's really no VAT tax here and there's also zero capital gains tax, and I bet that storage fees are most probably cheaper than in Switzerland. I personally live in Singapore and I've done a lot of price comparisons, and from what I see, even when we take away the VAT tax comparison, the premiums over spot in Singapore are cheaper in general compared to Europe. And to be frank, it makes sense to store some precious metals outside of your country and your region if anything goes wrong, right? The truth is building wealth is hard enough, but in Europe with all these taxes, right, to me at least, it's kind of making it near impossible for the average Joe to do so, right? So your options are really limited here, guys. So I do get your frustrations. If you're living in the EU, getting taxed to oblivion on silver is not a good feeling, right? It's either buy your silver offshore or try to embark on some grand James Bond adventure trying to smuggle silver back home in the trunk of your car, which is honestly it's just too much work and not really worth it, right? Trying to hide silver in your flight luggage and trying to keep a straight face at customs isn't legal either. It's not right, and sooner or later you will get caught, right? Everyone slips up at the end of the day. Now, the only 100% solution I can see to escape all taxes legally is to migrate to a tax haven country like Singapore, but that isn't always feasible, right? And if you're doing it just for silver, I don't think that is the best reason to do so. You need to have a better motivation, guys. Europe is still a very beautiful place, and it would be a shame to leave. Now, it's not all doom and gloom if you're in Europe and you really want to stack silver, right? I get it. 20% is really steep to pay, but it shouldn't matter if you're holding it for a long time. If you're trying to build and preserve generational wealth, you do want to get some silver. Remember, it is still a precious metal and is one of the few ways to have physical, decentralized wealth in your hands, right? If you look at the historical price of silver in 2003, it was under $5 and today it's around $23, right? That's over 4 times gains in a big picture. So don't let the VAT tax stop you if you're thinking long term, right? If you really want to stack more precious metals and you just can't bring yourself to get silver because of the taxes, then go ahead, right, guys? Go get more gold instead, right? As far as I know, there's zero tax on gold across Europe, and it's still a very powerful way to hold your purchasing power during these inflationary times, right? I personally hold more gold than silver because the physical premiums on gold are lower too, right? And I, personally like the yellow luster and shine of gold compared to silver, right? And I think there's really always a way to get more precious metals if we want. So get more gold, and in the meantime, maybe, just maybe, the EU will change their laws down the road and silver's VAT might get repealed, right? It's not a guarantee, but it could happen. Then it's not too late to convert some of the gold that you bought in the past into silver when the time comes, right? I'm no soothsayer, but I think as more money flows out of Europe into other countries, especially Asia, The politicians in Brussels will have to wake up sooner or later and reduce VAT taxes on silver if they really want to remain competitive. But until that happens, you will need to find a way out, and the best way to do so legally is to buy and store your silver offshore. So there you have it, guys. I really believe that silver stacking is all about long-term wealth building, and if you're really serious about silver, you shouldn't let taxes stop you from getting what you really want. You know, when I first started stacking gold in Singapore back in 2010, there was a 7% tax on it, but I still bought the coins and bars because I knew that in the long term, the gains will override the tax amount. I know that fiat currencies will lose their value eventually, but gold and silver won't. And for us stackers in countries with no VAT tax, we should be grateful and take the chance to increase our stack when we can, right? There's no saying if suddenly one day there will be taxes imposed on buying silver, right? So while the going is good, I'll be continuing to stack every single month. So let me know, guys, what are some of the challenges you face when it comes to buying silver bullion? And if you're watching this in Europe, I really want to hear from you as well. Let me know in the comments below, guys, and if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more gold and silver videos. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you soon.